Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Adoptees podcast. And today, we've got a bit of a change for you. A bit of a change. Today, my good friend and buddy down under in Oz, Vin, he's going to be interviewing me, and we've spent about the last half an hour trying to come up with a format, and we eventually came up with this question as a kind of starting point for our conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Vin, because he's hosting the show and turning the tables on me, right? And
I'm a bit worried.
I love doing new formats. So
it's exciting. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So what was the you go into it?
Well, I mean, Simon, we were talking about Unwoundable, and to me that concept is a bit foreign. So I guess all our lives we're told that we're fucked mentally. We'll never be getting to be any better. Don't even try. That's just going to wound us completely for the rest of our lives. And the book, The Primal Wound, is known to be the Bible. So apparently it's meant to be the adoptee Bible. So what you're saying, though, Simon, is that we are unwounded. We are unwounded. Is that correct?
I'm saying we are unwounded, and the reason I'm saying that we are unwounded is because we are fundamentally, essentially, basically, unapologetically. I don't think I've come at with more adjectives. We are unwoundable. We are unwoundable. And I want to make it clear that I have definitely felt wounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have definitely felt wounded by a few different things in my life, including adoption. I have felt wounded, but my central belief now, and the reason for my hope in the world of adoption, is because we are unwoundable, and it's probably best for me to stop there.
So when you say we are unwoundable, can you try and break that down for us? Because a lot of us, it's very common in the adoptee world that that we do feel wounded by our primal wound. And I've read half the book of The Primal Wound, and some things applied to me, some things didn't. And I thought it was written really well. However, from an adoptee perspective, because it's not written by an adoptee, I think there are a lot of terms and things that can be felt with the primal wound. So can you break it down for us?
Certainly.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do here is zoom right up. So you heard this phrase, we can't see the wood for the trees. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is raise us up above the floor of the wood, so that we can look down and see the wood rather than seeing the individual trees, and we can see the fact for ourselves that we are unwoundable. Now, we need to see it for ourselves, right? I came up with this a few years ago, and I love it, right? There's no such thing as a second-hand insight. I can't make you or anybody listening see for themselves that we are unwoundable, because you have to see it for yourself. That's the whole thing, right? Epiphany moments happen within us, not outside us. And the reason that I am sure that we are unwoundable is because I've seen it for myself, right? But my insight probably means nothing to anybody else, because they have to see it for themselves. So that's the nature of insights. And what I'm trying to do is point you and point the listeners to the fact that they are unwoundable, so that they see it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it for myself in a coaching conversation. I was talking to a coach. I was telling them, that coach, about the primal wound. And I saw what that was. I saw that it was a belief. So I didn't believe I was wounded until I read the Primal Wound. Yeah. So my life was a cakewalk. It was a piece of proverbial piss, right? It was really easy. You had a really tough time, especially at school, right? And you've had other stuff that's gone on for you that I would have thought would have brought me to my knees. I had a little bit of tough stuff with bullying at school, but on a scale of toughness, where yours is a gazillion, mine was one. But so I didn't have all these beliefs growing up that I was primarily wounded, that I wasn't looking for a diagnosis. I wasn't looking for something to explain stuff. I wasn't looking for something that was wrong with me growing up. As an adult, all my stress, all my emotional pain came from business, from running my own business. And then at 40, whatever people say, I came out of the fog. I did some work. I got a clearer sense on who I am. And then 8 years, 10 years later, I got an even clearer sense of my identity. And the realization that I came from, the insight that I had, is that who we really are is unwoundable, right? So the wound is a metaphor, because, as you said, you said before we started recording, you said mental health is invisible, and so is the primal wound. The primal wound is invisible, and our heads can't get around stuff that we can't see. So they're like the invisible man, right? The invisible man is invisible until he puts his coat on. And then he's just a coat floating through space. He's got space below him. He's got big empty space. He's got no hands. So then he has to bandage his face up, put his trousers on, put his shoes on, put a hat on or something like that, put some gloves on, and then he becomes visible. That's what metaphors do. And the primal wound is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. And I read the book, and I believed. Before then, I had suspected that adoption had messed me up subconsciously. I thought maybe. I thought it had messed me up. But when I read The Primal Wound, I believed that it had messed me up. And I believed that I was primarily wounded. And I believe that all adoptees were primarily wounded. Until this realization, a few years later, 2 or 3 years later, I think, that the essence of who we are is unwoundable. So the essence of who we are is unwoundable. So let me give you another metaphor for that, because otherwise I'm just talking very vague, invisible terms. Okay, so the metaphor that I believe is, that I've heard from a guy called Rupert Spira, who I name check on the show, is like a screen. So we're looking at each other on a screen. If I tell, if I'm telling you a horror story, or you're telling me a horror story of how those bullies came for you at school, or I'm telling you a horror story about how those bullies came for me on scout camp, right? The screen isn't tainted by, it isn't upset by a story that is upsetting. If I somehow miraculously get a good joke, I'm not very good at telling jokes, but if I tell a good joke, the screen doesn't laugh. So let me give you another metaphor that may be clearer. So if we think about the adoption, if we think about adoption trauma, that's like a cloud that veils the sky. Mm-hmm. If we use my diamond in the fist metaphor, right? Hopefully listeners will have heard about this before, right? So when I came out of the fog, it came up with anger towards my birth mother. Think of a metaphor for anger, trauma. So trauma is made of toxic emotions like anger, fear, and insecurity. Think of a clenched fist. Because we do damage when we're angry, right? We lash out at people when we're angry. We do damage. We put our fist through walls. I've seen that done. We open up the hand, and inside the hand we have the perfect diamond, the beauty of who we are, veiled by our trauma. So the trauma and the diamond are two different things. In the fist and the hand, the fist and the diamond are two completely different things. The trauma and who we are is completely two different things. And that diamond is the toughest thing known to man or womankind, and we can't scratch it. So if we can't scratch it, I take a knife. I take a knife to my hand. I cut my hand. It starts bleeding. I have a wound. Take a knife to the diamond, and the knife has no impact on the diamond. It can't cut the diamond. It can't scratch the diamond. It can't wound the diamond. And
so essentially, we are the diamond.
We are the diamond, and the diamond is unwoundable. Mm-hmm. I have felt wounded, but I'm not my feelings. Mm-hmm. Let me say that again. I have felt wounded, but I am not my feelings. My feelings come and go. What do they come and go in? Me. I'm there, feeling the feelings. I am the feeler of my feelings. I am the space in which my feelings arise. I am the space in which my thoughts arise. So I look at the primal wound. The primal wound is probably 40%, and I'm making these figures up, right? it's 40 for me. I mean, so it's 40% fear, 20% insecurity, 40%, 39% anger. So it's probably 99% feelings and 1% thoughts. That's what the primal wound is. But going back to my metaphor, that's my hand. That's my the trauma is represented in the metaphor by my hand, not the diamond that's in it.
Mm-hmm. It does confuse me a little bit.
Okay, ask me a question. This is the point.
So maybe I think I got a little lost with that metaphor, that last metaphor. Can you just sort of break that one down if you can?
Break one down. The hand and the diamond.
Yeah. So you were talking about how. So I completely understand when you say we are not our feelings. Completely get that because everyone feels so many different feelings, and how can you be all of your feelings? Like you feel the feelings, but you are not your feelings. Completely understand that. So maybe just the last one. Could you break that down?
So if I look at my hand, I'm looking at my hand now. I can see a palm. I can see a palm. I can see a palm and 5 fingers. So 4 fingers and a thumb, right? So this is excellent because I've never looked at it this way, right? So the mass, the surface area, right, is the palm. That's the biggest. That's the biggest part. So let's call that. Let's call that. Let's say that's 50%.
Yeah.
That's 50% of adoption trauma is fear, as in I'm not good enough. Other people are going to reject me. My birth mother rejected me. Okay, so fear of rejection again. That was very visceral. That was a visceral feeling for me sitting in a therapist's chair. Fear of my. She said, "Why have you stopped your search, Simon?" And in that moment, a vision of my birth mother came to me, and she was rejecting me again. I'd opened the door of the therapist's room, seen my birth mother outside, and she'd rejected me again. Right. So we're back. Let me get back to the handling. So fear is 50% of my adoption trauma. That's the palm of my hand. So and then I've got 5 digits. So maybe I've got 10% anger, 10% insecurity, 10% worry, 10%, I don't know, indignation, resentment towards my birth mother. And the last 10% is, I don't know, what feelings, what feeling have you felt that I haven't given I haven't included in my 9 that I've used so far. Sorry, not 9, 5 that I've used so far. So actually fear, insecurity, resentment, anger.
Can't think of any.
Does that help you? Does that help?
Yes, definitely. All that definitely helps.
But that, so my hand, I'm saying that the primal wound represents two things. The hand, the clenched fist, represents 2 things that are synonymous, right? They're the same thing. I'm saying it's trauma, and I'm saying it's the primal.
So come full circle.
Both of it, yeah.
When you say that you feel unwoundable, and you just talked about the primal wound, do you still feel unwoundable, or is that completely separate?
Yeah, I'm just simplifying it. I'm just simplifying it right down. So for me, I'm just saying to keep it nice and simple. And let me come up with another way of making it even simpler, right? Yep. So this came to me last week, right? So no, not it, I'd had it the thought before, but it only came like crystal clear to me before. Okay, so the fist is two things: trauma and primal wound. Right? And we're saying you use which one you want, but we talked about are we unwoundable? So let's go with the primal wound, right? So my fist, however hard I clench my fist, however big and heavy and shitty and horrible, my primal wound is it cannot damage the diamond. However, because it just can't do it. It's not. The human hand is weaker than the diamond. So I'm thinking rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Rock paper scissors. So the paper hides the rock, but the scissors can't cut the rock. So however hard I clench it, however much positive mindset I get or negative mindset I have, right? I cannot, my clenched fist cannot damage who I am, because remember who I am. I'm the diamond. I'm the diamond, and the diamond cannot be crushed by a human hand. And it can't be wounded. It can't be wounded.
So let me ask you another question. So we also discussed, leading up to this, who are you without the wound and who are you with the wound?
Well, I am the diamond. I'm always the diamond. I just can't see it because it's been hidden by the clenched fist. Who I am is hidden by how I feel. I'm more interested in the world and me too, right? And we're very interested in how we feel. We spend a lot of time focusing on how we feel rather than focusing on who we are. So we spend a lot of time talking about our feelings, talking about our hands, talking about the clenched fist, talking about our trauma. We spend zero time, as far as I can see, talking about who we are, the diamond hidden by but we can't see it, right? We talk about the fist, we talk about our trauma because we can't see ourselves. And now little Indy's crying. She's in a crate next to me. We've just got this puppy, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, no, you still ask me another question.
Not really. So in the sense of, so we talked about, so off camera.
Hold a minute, then. Hold on a minute, mate. Do not apologize for not being clear on this. The whole point of this is for me to get what's out of my head, make it clearer for the listeners. So if you're not understanding it, then it's down to me, right? And my mission is to get crystal clear on doing this. So you're when I'm doing the hosting, right? I'm asking the questions that I think the listeners want to know the answers to, and you're in that position. So I've got nothing on this. I've got no kind of I'm remarkably relaxed about you asking questions. And I know that because when I had staff, right, and sometimes they'd ask me questions, I'd say, oh, Jesus, just go on and do it, just figure it out. So I know that feeling. I know that feeling of being frustrated. Can you hear? Can you hear little?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's just me or,
It
and I
isn't.
don't want to
Just ask it.
the same question and just get a different answer, because I don't know if I am asking the same question in a different way. But so what does so back to, and you did answer this, who are you without your wound and who are you with your wound, but can you just give a different example?
Okay.
Yeah, just to sort of, we talked about how you talked about when mental health was invisible, and then you put on the cape and then the jacket, and then it became a thing, so you were able to see it then.
That's
So
right.
can you give us like a little bit clearer example on just the two different ways on, like, who you are with or without? What does that look like?
So when I take off my cape at night,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a cape. When I take off my clothes at night, I reveal quite a tan body, actually, because I've just come back from Greece. But I reveal some little muffin tops. You know what a muffin top is? So it's a little bit of belly fat that's around the middle. So I reveal myself. I am always myself, but myself is unreal. My true self is revealed when I undress. But I'm always myself. Sometimes I've got clothes on, sometimes I haven't. Thank you, Indy.
So in terms of it definitely makes sense, but I think I'm more talking about mentally or feeling.
Okay. Right.
So
let me go.
That is you stripped, but now strip your mind and tell us who that is.
Right. So I am slightly irritated about my puppy. Okay. Next one. I am really enjoying this conversation. So I am irritated by the puppy. You could say that was a feeling. And I'm really enjoying this conversation. That's another feeling. So there's the I am that is unchanged, and the feeling changes. I am awareness. Irritated that Indy started crying again. The content of my awareness. Let me do this. So it's there's let me try it another way, because I still not right. I am is the context. Irritated about Indy is a content. I am is the constant context. It's the space in which my thoughts and feelings arrive. So awareness and what I am aware of.
So maybe bring it back to the wounded part. So when we talked about
so 1 minute, I am feeling wounded.
And what does that mean when you say you are
when I'm feeling wounded? I'm feeling at a low ebb. I'm feeling a victim. I'm feeling that I had no choice about being taken away from my birth mother. I'm a victim. I'm a pawn in this adoption industry. I am destined to be destined for mental health issues forever, right? So I am feeling wounded. Next minute, I've forgotten about all that, and I am looking forward to stroking my puppy, right? So I am changeless. Feeling or thought changing. Constant me, dynamic feelings and thoughts. Always I, changing feelings and thoughts. Static self, dynamic experience. I am traumatized. I am happy. I am insecure. I am secure. I am feeling insecure. I am feeling secure. The I am is the never changing identity. This is the thing, right? We struggle with identity. Everybody struggles with identity. Like, and I say this a lot, right? So I am Simon Jonathan Ben. But if you'd asked me at 2 weeks old and I could talk, I would have said, I'm David Anthony Flower. Nice to meet you. So I am, like, we get who we are mixed up with our feelings, with our thoughts, with our trauma, with our name, with our role in life, with our, usually on this podcast, I'm the host. Today I'm the guest.
So what I'm hearing is who I am and what I am are different.
No, I'm not making it clear, and I'm going to have to let her. We're going to have to let her out. Just on a minute.
Yeah, not the.
So I knew that she was going to be on a video sometime soon. Here she is.
Gorgeous.
If you're listening to this, then go over to YouTube and put Thriving Adoptees into YouTube, and you will see a picture of little Indy. Go and ask me another question. See if I can. I am distracted. I am focused. I am looking at my dog. I am looking at you. I am is constant. My experience, my feelings, my thoughts are always changing. Now I'm worried about her peeing on me, right? Yeah. The next minute, I'm not worried about it. I'm thinking, well, she had a pee half an hour ago. Should be okay.
Very, very adorable puppy.
Now she's licking my ear. This is not one for a podcast, but we're going to do it as a podcast, right?
So thanks for explaining all that. I think I got myself confused with some things, and I hope that my questions didn't confuse the listeners.
I've been doing this 14. I've been looking at this 14 years, and you're trying to interview me without that 14 years worth of.
I think my confusion comes from when you talk about not being wounded, but then on the flip side of things, you talk about being wounded. So it kind of conflicts with my understanding.
So think of the now somebody's ringing me. Think of the wound. Think of the wound on the hand. So if you put a knife through my hand, it's going to wound my hand, but not the diamond underneath.
Yeah. So my understanding, so let me sort of walk you through a little bit of my thought process at the moment. So my understanding, and I think this is a very generalized feeling or understanding of this from my perspective is that what you're saying is that we can go through periods of being wounded, and then we can also go through periods of being wounded.
No, I'm saying we can feel wounded, but we're
Yeah.
not our feelings. Our feelings changed. Who we are is the diamond.
All right.
The diamond is unwoundable. But you keep on putting, however, if you keep on putting the knife through the through the hand, then it's going to continue to feel wounded. And now I really need to go. And so thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon, listeners. Goodbye.
See you soon.